Hello and welcome to the Origin podcast. And today I have the privilege to interview Yannick Beunardeau, CEO of Kepler Digital, marrying blockchain technology with green aviation. Hello, Yannick, and welcome to this podcast. How do you feel today?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much, Pierre. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my pleasure to have you here today, and we are going to discuss a little bit about your career, about your studies, about your professional achievements, but also to discuss about Kepler Digital, the projects that you have been launching in order to marry the blockchain technology in order to increase the transparency and the traceability within the aviation industry. Yannick, is it the first time that you are participating to a podcast episode like this one?
Absolutely, the very first time. I've been interviewed in my career, but not as a podcaster.
Okay. And what are your expectations for today's podcast?
Well, I will see. I guess to go deep into what made Yannick today. So I think this is I'm open and curious to know what's coming.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Absolutely, let's do it. And Yannick, from what I understood, you are very passionate about aviation. What excites you into this field?
Aviation is the passion of my life, professional passion of my life, but it started very early in my youth. I always dreamt about flying. I always looked at what was above our heads in the sky. I always wondered how it could happen, how this miracle could take place.
Yeah.
So for me to go into aviation was about repeating the dream of Icarus.
Yeah.
Being able to be above the ground and feel free. This is so it was. If you want, it's like a dream becoming true.
Yeah.
This is what drove me during all my career.
Okay, and that's a passion that you had since a very young age. Like, do you remember the first time you were wondering, like,
Yeah,
how this miracle could happen?
yeah. I spent hours and hours looking at the birds, at the seagulls in particular. Still now, I still do that today. To see them flying with the effect of the wind, even without moving their wings.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you observe that when there is a little bit over a beach, when you see the seagulls spreading their wings and without any effort being able to be sustained by the air. This is just a crazy feeling for me.
Okay.
I would like to be one of them. Maybe I was one of them in my previous life.
And so when you were a young kid and passionate about aviation, like, did you know at that time what kind of job or what kind of industry you would like to work in?
Of course, when you are 5 or 10, you don't know yet. But remember, when I was 10, it was in 72, and the first flight of Concorde was in 68.
Yeah.
So I was already seeing this absolutely incredible white bird going twice the speed of sound.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, yes, I want to be part of that.
Okay.
So this is what happened at the end. Yeah.
And you were talking about the Concorde. What made the Concorde special at that time, and why they decided to stop the Concorde?
Wow.
The show flights.
Well, there is a long story about Concorde, but what is the most impressive thing for me in Concorde? This is the design. The fact that it was built to go twice the speed of sound. And remember, we were when they decided the first drawing were made in 62.
Yeah.
In 62, the technologies were not at all the same, so people were drawing this.
Yeah.
So Concorde is very special because it was designed like an aircraft, a fighter aircraft, but transporting 100 people.
Yeah.
At twice the speed of sound.
Okay.
Yeah. So the type of friction, the type of mechanics you observe at that time, in the 60s, you didn't have all the technology that we have now. So it made it very particular, but the aerodynamic design is a marvel.
Yeah.
It was tried to be copied by other nations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know maybe what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
But they never succeeded. They tried to make a double of the Concorde, but it was a failure.
Yeah.
So this is really a legendary aircraft. So I saw it when I was young. I saw it flying for the first time.
Yeah.
And then after I flew in Concorde myself.
Okay.
Yeah. Decades afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
And it had to stop because actually even he had an accident at the end, and it was too greedy in terms of fuel. So after in 72 we had the oil crisis. It continued to fly, but actually it was very costly, very noisy. And so with the new standards of aviation, it could not survive for long.
Okay.
And then the end of it was this accident that he had in Paris.
Okay.
Actually, which was due to a fake part who was mounted on the Concorde. Yeah.
The Kepler, but
At that time, maybe. So it had an accident. It didn't. Then after it was the end of it.
Okay.
But new Concorde will come. New engineers will invent a new supersonic aircraft. Yes.
yeah, that was my next question. Is like why today in 2025 we don't have the same type of technology that the Concorde used to have, or the same speed, I would say, and especially from the commercial of activities.
It's a ratio between what you need to fly and the people that you transport. It's a matter of cost. The technology exists. You can go supersonic, definitely. But after you need so much fossil CO2, kerosene today, that it's not worth it. So you need to invent new propulsion, and this is coming. We have new propulsion coming up, like hydrogen.
Yeah.
So I think this is possible, and it will be possible in the next decade. It's a matter of return on investment.
Yeah.
Is it worth transporting so many people so far away with the type of energy we have today? Most probably not.
Yeah.
But with new energies, yes, it will be.
Okay.
In 10 years, you will have a new supersonic. So a lot of projects are talking about this. Yes.
Okay. So the benefits of such an aircraft, that's about the speed.
Yeah.
It's how we bring people from point A to point B in a short matter of time.
Yeah. This is why aviation exists as well. Huh?
Yeah.
Because before aviation, you had ground transportation or ships or maritime transportation. But it's long. So therefore, aviation, if you want, unites people. You can go and see your family. You can do and visit. You are be curious about what's existing on this Mother Earth. So more easily.
Yeah.
The dream to discover has always been here. So the big explorators like Marco Polo or Christopher Columbus, they also traveled.
Absolutely.
But it was taking months and months to be able to do what today you can do in a few hours.
Yeah. No, that's a revolution. I mean, as human beings, we like to explore our world and we like to go to different countries, but also visit some family members, and aviation makes sense in order to help us achieve what we want to achieve. Not taking the cars or the bikes or the traditional boats in order to achieve point A to point B.
Exactly.
How do you see the future of this technology to evolve? Like, what do you think the aircraft will be in 50 years from now?
First of all, they need to be carbon neutral in 2050. So this is half of the 50 years. And there are several revolutions going on. So one is about electricity, so it helps a lot. The second one is about hydrogen. So how to replace fossil CO2, fossil fuel by hydrogen, provided that this hydrogen is produced with renewable electricity. Yeah. And the last one is something that was put a little bit aside, but I think engineers will come up. It's aerodynamics.
Yeah.
Actually, because after I studied aircraft engineering, so I don't want to be too technical, but actually you don't need the same wing when you are at one time the speed of sound as when you take off. You need less wing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the quicker you go, the smaller needs to be the wings.
Nice.
So if you think about this, you can already envisioned some aircraft that will be designed to retract their wings the quicker they go.
I see.
In the past, we had an aircraft like this built, or several aircraft were built like this, F-14 Tomcat, built by the US industry. But it was complex to master. But now I think that we can master that, and you will see new aircraft not looking the same when they fly above or when they land.
Yeah.
So this type of thing will happen.
Okay. Do you think in the future of this industry, we will be able one day to fly from Paris to New York under 1 hour? Do you think it will be possible one day?
Concorde was 3 hours and a half, so you need to be twice as quick as this. So let's say 4 times the speed of sound or a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yes, it's possible, I think, but you need to go higher.
Okay.
So Concorde was traveling at 20 kilometers high.
Okay.
Versus classical aviation is at 10 kilometers high.
Okay. Because you have less friction?
Less friction because you have less air.
Okay.
So if you have less friction, basically you can go quicker.
Okay. So it will be a mix between flying into the air, but also into the space.
You are really at the limit of the atmosphere.
Okay.
So above the troposphere. So it's nearly yes in some projects they are sending the aircraft into in orbit.
Yeah.
But it's another type of technology because when you get back into the air, you have the frictions, the heat.
Okay.
That you need to master.
And do you think that the human body can accept this speed in the aircraft?
Yeah. This is quite funny because at the beginning of the 19th century or even the 20th century, people were thinking that the human body would not resist a speed of 50 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
The cars, because it was not possible.
Yeah.
No, but of course, the issue is the acceleration, not so much the speed.
Okay.
So the fact to accelerate.
Yeah.
So if you have a certain doses of acceleration, which is not above twice 2 Gs, I think this is possible for everybody.
Okay. So you were passionate at aviation since the young age. How do you see your passion evolve since your childhood and today, Yannick, 62 years old?
So my path into that was first of all to make sure that I could be in that industry, and I was lucky. I think this is I can take it as a luck to be good at mathematics and physics. So I could study. This is what aviation studies needed. People who can resolve mathematical equations or can study physics. So I could do that. So I did this type of studies when I was young, at the age of 12, and so I was good at math. So I said, okay, so there is a chance that you can do that. And then at the age of 15, I was targeting what we call Maths Sup, Maths Spé in France. So the highest levels of mathematics and physics in the French studies. I managed to get into that, to be taken in this university. So therefore, I was closer to my goal. And then at the end of these studies, I had to choose between 2 careers. One to be a pilot and the other one to be an aircraft engineer.
Yeah.
I was piloting already since the age of 17 because I wanted to be concrete in and to see what it was. So I did that, and then I had a strong decision to make between 2 careers. I was taken as a military pilot in the school of Salon-de-Provence. At the same time, I was also taken in the engineering school of what we call ISAE today, Institut Supérieur de l'Aéronautique et de l'Espace in Poitiers, and SMA Poitiers. And I chose this one versus piloting. So it was a strong decision to make, hard decision to make, because actually you make the pros and cons about what it was. And at that time I was 20, and it was easier for me to make this type of decision than when you are 15.
Yeah, certainly. And what it looks like to integrate the military program in order to become an air pilot?
But you've got a strong exam. So there are 3 chapters of this exam. An exam about your body, if your body is able to sustain acceleration up to 5G or 4G. So this is, I don't know if you're 4G, this is your feet that's in some acceleration 4 times your body weight.
Yeah.
So they study everything about your brain, about your backbone, about everything. And the other exams is about mathematics and physics. So it's a strong. You need to make sure that you have the right marks for that. And the last one is a physical exam. So you need to run, you need to jump, you need to go on a rope with the strength of your arms only. So I had the marks which were allowing me to be taken.
Yeah.
So I was taken. But it didn't mean that I had to go. Because I was also taken on the engineering school. So I took a strong decision in August 1983 to go to the aeronautical engineering school.
Okay.
So this is what it was.
Because you were telling us that before becoming a military air pilot, you need to be a military and you need to be trained as a military, how to handle a military strategy, how to handle a gun, etc.
Yeah, one of the decision making was about an interview that I had with the general. Yeah, he told me, Yannick, the military is not Top Gun, so you are not going to do that because in the morning you decide to fly.
Yeah.
You're first a military.
Yeah.
So with all the discipline that it requires, I have a lot of respect for the army and no problem for that. But the fact to be able myself to trigger a gun was difficult.
Yeah.
So I could not see me as having to do that because it was the consequences were not in my mind space. So
were you anticipating at this time that you could be involved into some missions?
Yeah.
That could involve killing people, defending the country against attackers.
This is what military is about. You can have collateral damages, or you have to we call it targets. You need to hit targets, and targets can be material, can be human, they can be, and so the consequences of your acts are doing things, which is for me was difficult to accept. So yes, at the same moment that I had to take the decision, the US the French Air Force was involved in some missions in the Middle East. Okay, I was not seeing myself doing this. Yeah.
So before that, you were learning how to fly when you were a teenager, and the funny story is like you learn how to fly before you learn how to drive. What was the most exciting thing about learning to fly and flying rarely? But what was the obstacles also as well? Because I think it requiring a lot of skills. What part of the aircraft flying skill is the most challenging part?
Yeah. What is very funny, this is the first time that you take off. So you take off with an instructor. So you have your theoretical knowledge, but then after when you take off, this is the first time that you have a real aircraft in your hands, with a joystick, with the throttles, and with everything. So you perceive the speed. And at the speed of 100 kilometers with a small aircraft, you start to feel the aircraft a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
And then accelerating still, you take off. So this is the first impression, absolutely incredible. When nothing else exists, then you are in the air. You are like a bird in the air.
Yeah.
You hear the engine, but you are in the air.
Okay.
So you make your tour de piste. You go around the airfield. You make several of them. So. And in session 2 or 3 of this type of exercise with my instructor, I still remember his name is Mr. Para. So thank you, Mr. Para. After 10 of these tour de piste, he decided. So he asked me to land. So we landed. He said, Yannick, now you're on your own.
Yeah.
I get out of the aircraft and you are going to do that again, but alone.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was Am I able to do that?
Yeah.
Of course, I was doing that before him, just observing what I was doing. But he was not here with me, correcting me if I needed.
Yeah.
So yes, this was the first to do something like this alone. So everything went well. So I could do that, and after so the fear was past. So it was the one of the anxiety that I had, but at the end it was a pleasure to be able to fly alone. Another one that I had one day was I had some passengers with me. It was a 4-seater, a Cessna 172, and a lot of cloud, unexpected cloud, which made me a little bit lose my sight. I was flying into visual flying roads, but I could not see what I was expecting to see. So I was kind of lost. But thanks God, into the aircraft you've got some instruments, and I could locate myself thanks to the instrument. But I was not expecting to use the instrument at the time that I was flying, but I had to this time.
Yeah.
And I could find the airfield thanks to the instrument. But I had a little 5 minutes of I have passengers, they have to think that I am all under control.
Yeah.
But I was not all under control. So I had to, but when I found the airfield thanks to the instrument, it was okay. And we landed without any problem.
Okay. I heard that the most technical part of piloting an aircraft is the décollage and atterrissage. Is it true?
Yeah, exactly. The people think that they are afraid when they are very high in the sky, but the most dangerous stages are when you land or when you take off.
Okay.
Because when you take off, if you have an issue of engine, basically you have to land wherever you can.
Yeah.
And when you land, you can have some winds which are not expected. So scissor winds that can be super dangerous. So you need to learn these phases.
Yeah, I imagine that by that time you didn't have the technologies that we have today, the automatic pilots that help the pilots to achieve these technical difficulties.
Yeah, exactly. On an airliner, you've got all types of systems that can correct what the pilot is doing.
Yeah.
So this is, I would say, easier. But this small aircraft, no, you do that manually. You have even today, you have to do that manually.
Okay.
So the real piloting, in my view, is with smaller aircraft.
Okay. All right. So coming back to your studies, so you had to make a choice between going into the military and going into the aircraft engineering. So you decided after a long reflection to go into the aircraft engineering.
Yeah.
As a student, what do you learn? What do they teach you in order to become an aircraft engineer?
So mechanics, aerodynamics, propulsion, electronics, IT. So all that you need to go very deep in details about all these matters. So you learn about everything, but around an aircraft. Hydraulics, thermodynamics. So all that are a subject that you need to master.
Okay.
In order to because an aircraft is all about this. So you've got some parts which are hydraulics, some parts which are just aerodynamics, some parts which are avionics into the cockpit, propulsion about the engines, or how a reactor is working. So this is something very special.
Okay.
So you need to be able to do that. And there is something else that I was really focusing, anticipating maybe what the future would be. English.
Okay.
Super important.
Yeah, because all the technical documentation were made in English.
Exactly. But a lot of people studying forget about this thing. This is maybe most probably the most important thing, is to learn English.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you are becoming an aircraft engineer, like, do you specialize in a particular type of model or constructor, manufacturer?
Well, I was I specialized in aerodynamics. So I worked for Dassault Aviation.
Okay.
Actually in Bordeaux. Studying the winglets of the Falcon 900. So a piece of wind that you find at the end.
Yeah.
So the vertical But in 1986, it was not very popular. Nobody had winglets.
Yeah.
I studied one of the first one on an aircraft.
Okay.
And now you find them everywhere. And I'm very proud to see that what I found as the angle and the size is more or less what the aircraft have today.
Okay.
So I was not very far from the truth, even if the way to calculate them were not the one that we have today.
Okay.
So it was my specialty, but it was also the reason why I decided to go to study another thing that we call an MBA, Master of Business Administration. Because at Dassault Aviation, I saw the people working they were super specialists, and I wanted to be more generalist. So I decided to join an airline. So I joined Air France.
Okay.
Because it was more, let's say, spread, like a generalist versus a specialist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on Dassault Aviation, you were purely an aircraft engineer.
Mhm.
And after, when you came to aviation, you were becoming part of the commercial side or the management side.
Yeah, exactly. I was shifting progressively to management and to business side of aviation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Because you wanted to why did you make this decision of studying MBA?
I was feeling myself. The airline, to work for an airline was my goal. Yeah. And the airline, they needed to have double education. So technical one, that I had already, plus also commercial one, business one.
Okay.
They like this type of education, double education as we call them.
Okay.
And it was true. Air France took me. And then with Air France, I work in several. I still work as an aircraft engineer at the beginning because they wanted to exploit my knowledge. So I worked on the 737, 747 fleet. And then I moved to operations. And in operations, you start to have negotiations with other airlines.
Yeah.
And this is where I was applying my negotiation skills.
Okay.
And I was feeling more and more being able to negotiate versus being able to fix an aircraft issue.
Okay. So I know that you have been working for Dassault, Air France, and Amadeus, but just before asking the question about your career and Amadeus, and especially what you were doing within this company, I would like to go back into your experience in Mexico.
Yeah.
Because before the younger generation need to do the how do we call it, the service military service, and the young people have the choice to choose pure military service as within the army, but also to do some kind of civil experiences in a different country.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah.
What did you do in Mexico?
In Mexico, I choose Mexico. Yes, when I was young, instead of going to the military service, which was mandatory for everybody, after being an engineer, you could work for the commerce extérieur, for the external commerce of France.
Okay.
And they assign you to a company.
Okay.
So I could choose where I wanted and with whom I wanted. And I proposed a company named Valeo to send me to Mexico. Why Mexico? Because it was getting out of my comfort zone. I was thinking that I wanted to speak Spanish.
Okay.
And I decided to go. I didn't know anything about Spanish because I studied German and English.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I went there, I was just absolutely ab inicio, the very beginner in Spanish.
Okay.
And this was my first motivation to learn Spanish, and my second is to discover what is at that time a third world country.
Okay.
Because we are very lucky in Western Europe. We have, the wealth is good, so we have a certain standard of living.
Yeah.
But when you discover what it is in a country where poverty is very present, it's a little bit less now, but at that time it was very much the case. You learn different philosophy of life. You see. Okay, so I'm very lucky to be French and living in France. Yeah.
Valeo was what kind of company?
Valeo, they do parts for cars.
Okay.
Example, heating systems.
Okay.
Or air conditioning system, and they use the same physics as you use in an aircraft.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, aerodynamics is part of that, for instance.
Okay. And do you think that this experience in Mexico enrich your professional career? Maybe
Definitely.
speaking Spanish?
Exactly. One of the reasons why Amadeus hired me is because I was speaking 2 foreign languages.
Yeah, it helps.
It helped a lot. And in Amadeus, I was taking care of Latin American countries.
Yeah, and especially Amadeus is a Spanish
Exactly.
company.
Exactly. Headquartered in Madrid, definitely.
Okay, now I'm very interested to dive into your experience within Amadeus. So, what is Amadeus about? What do they do?
Amadeus is what we call a travel tech. So they do technology for travel.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest one in the world. When I joined Amadeus in 96, it was just the beginning of it.
Yeah.
But they became the number one after 10 years. They are the European alternative to the US competitors.
Okay.
Example, Sabre. Amadeus is 130 different nationalities. So for somebody who likes to speak English and having to interact with the various nationalities, this is really the place to be.
Okay.
The thing that I didn't know so much was IT.
Yeah.
Because at that time I was more Air France operations than IT.
Yeah.
But I learned that, and I started my career in Amadeus, where Amadeus was still small.
Okay.
And it became during
These big companies.
this big company. Yeah.
Okay. So you had different position in Amadeus. Huh? What did you do exactly?
Actually, I started in what we call distribution, working for TMC's travel management companies.
Yeah.
So making sure that Amadeus was the system of choice of travel agencies.
Yeah.
In Latin America, in my case.
Yeah.
Adopting Amadeus as a system. So until 2000. But already during that period, I was proposing to diversify into airport IT.
Yeah.
Nobody believed me at that time.
Yeah.
But it was, if you want, already in my head. And in 2000, Amadeus decided to go into airline IT, so making the airline systems. The first one to sign was British Airways and Qantas.
Okay.
Still at that time, I was pushing for airport IT, and they started to see, there is something here.
Yeah.
But I was a small guy in Amadeus, so I was always putting my IDs forward in the ID boxes.
Yeah.
I was not taking very seriously at that time.
No.
I was but because I was young, I was just starting, and they say, okay, so you are a nice kid. Leave us alone. We know what we are doing.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit persistent. I'm very persistent.
Yeah.
I don't give up easily. It's coming from sport. This one is coming from the tennis competition I was doing. But the fact to be consistent, in 2008, they gave me the opportunities to create what we call airport IT.
Okay.
Why was it? Because distribution was the first vector of growth of Amadeus.
Yeah.
Then after they diversified into airline IT, it was the second vector. Amadeus was very successful in our airline IT, but we knew that 10 years after, we would get to an asymptote.
Yeah.
So we needed a third stage of the rocket.
Okay.
And I was proposing airport IT to be the third stage of this rocket. And in 2008, they said, okay, this guy has been insisting over the past 10 years doing this.
Yeah.
We're going to give him a chance.
Okay.
So they gave me an office, white paper. I say, okay, now this is your turn.
Yeah. But what is the biggest problem that airport IT is solving?
If you want, when I was operating Air France at the airport, I was already observing a lot of gaps into the system linking together.
Yeah.
Example, the anticipation of what is going to happen in an airport, which doesn't optimize the airport. Let me give you an example. if you don't know what is going to happen on an airport, you are going to over-dimension your airport.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that you can take care of all the aircraft that may come or may not come.
Okay.
The passengers the same. When you over-dimension, you cut more forest, you build more runways.
Yeah.
You don't use to the maximum what you have already, the resources.
Yeah.
So already in 2008, we were seeing that in Western Europe, for instance, the airport could not grow.
Yeah.
Example, you cannot make a third runway in London Heathrow.
Yeah.
Because you need to erase some villas.
Yeah.
So basically, the fact to use better what you have already, it's coming from anticipation.
I see. Okay.
And Amadeus, you start to make the reservation 1 year ahead of time. So therefore, we can already see what is going to happen the 15th of August 2025 in Charles de Gaulle. Because we make the reservation, we sell the tickets, we know which aircraft are going to land.
Okay.
So you can tell London Heathrow, be prepared for that number of aircraft, for that number of passengers.
Okay.
So this is what Amadeus is doing better than anybody else now.
Okay. And so that's a way to optimize the flow over an airport, and especially the organization about the atterrissage, le parquet, les aircraft, etc.
Yeah.
To optimize the time also on the aircraft on the tarmac.
Yeah.
So what kind of successes did you have with this new product or new technologies that you wanted to implement?
About the biggest
Of revenue, for instance.
Yeah. But the biggest happiness in my career is this one, is to have created from a white paper, literally a white paper alone in an office, to a business for Amadeus. We employ now 1,500 people. So it feeds 1,500 families.
Yeah.
The fact to have started that. And so the revenue per year is above 300 million euros per year.
Okay.
So this is this whole journey, which is for me the best satisfaction that I had when I retired.
Yeah.
Then after we had the first contract to be signed.
Yeah.
With Fred Meyer for Air Azur. We had the first airport to sign. It was Innsbruck.
Yeah.
The biggest group of airports signing in 2015, which was Avinor, 43 airport in Norway. So all that were successes step by step, building what Amadeus Airport IT is about.
Okay. And the funny thing is, like, you are the initiator of this project, but you didn't decide to become the number one leader of this one, the CEO of this project.
I was at the beginning, but there is something else that you need to be that I'm not in my guts. I'm not political. So meaning that in order to be continuing this, you need to spend your time a lot. First of all, next to the president of Amadeus, and managing things that I was not passionate about.
Okay.
Political activities, influencing in the stock exchange, this type of thing. But I was more comfortable with the nature of the job, which was optimizing airports. So I took care of that, but it was still at the end a big position because I was taking care of Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Okay.
With a lot of customers and a lot of team.
Okay. Yannick, during your career, professional or personal, what is your biggest challenge that you had?
I had a lot, like in a human life, you face a lot of difficulties. You can face, you can have failures. I failed. I failed, but I stood up again. And I learn always from my failures. What did happen? Why? What did it make it? The fact that I didn't succeed in that aspect, and this is, I think, it's difficult for me to name all the difficulties that I had because I had a lot. Nevertheless, something that I know now is that until you are not dead, you are alive, meaning that you can come up from and stronger from a failure, renaître de ses cendres. And I think this is sport taught me that. I was a tennis player.
Yeah.
I played tennis in competition. I was not the best one, but I was not the worst one. And I remember so many times that the matches that I won, thinking that I would lose them.
Yeah.
But I recovered step by step because the other party was thinking that he was winning.
Yeah.
So therefore, the lessons in life, you don't give up at the first obstacle.
No.
If there is life, there is hope.
Yeah.
So I faced so many others. Example, at the beginning of Airport IT, during 10 years, nobody wanted to hear about that. But step by step, the planet aligned, and all of a sudden, allopathy came.
Yeah.
So this is something that where you have a wall in front of you. Okay, this wall is this. So what do I do to go around the wall or above the wall or below the wall?
Yeah.
And at some point, there is an opportunity that comes.
Yeah.
If you,
Yeah, most of the time people think that success is a straight line, but that's more like a stairway in which you will go one step after one step, but sometimes you will go back in order to achieve the success. And Nietzsche was saying like what doesn't kill you make you stronger is because all the obstacles that you have in life, you cannot escape it. I think all the humans from different levels, they have different type of experience, and that's how you react towards these experiences and how you control the failures in order to achieve more perspective and step back from these failures, and how you will be overcoming them.
exactly.
And so you finish Amadeus a few months ago. You terminate, you retired, we can tell about this, and you decided to launch Kepler Digital.
Yeah.
So what is Kepler Digital about?
The inception of Kepler comes from the fact that I could see the superposition of two things. The first one, I learned about blockchain from my son, Pierre, you. What it was about. I didn't know anything about blockchain 3 years ago, but I became an advisor to Galileo protocol, and it helped me understanding what it was.
Yeah.
And understanding the technology more and more, I could see what I was missing in aviation IT today.
Okay.
So by the way, what we do in blockchain could also be helping aviation some way.
Absolutely.
So I have still a lot of energy at the end of my career in Amadeus. So why don't I try to solve to make the conjunction of the two, the technology that can do that and the need of aviation.
Yeah.
And this is why I created Kepler Digitals with Pierre Beunardeau.
Yeah. I think like 2 years ago, before Kepler, you were not supposed to retire at the age of 62 from Amadeus. Like, what was the idea of Kepler was a trigger for you to retire from Amadeus and to launch a new project?
Yeah, definitely, because as I am in my body, I am an entrepreneur. But I always work for a big company. Actually, I was an intrapreneur creating Airport IT. I said, okay, so 10 years after, more or less more than 10 years after, 12 years after, there is an opportunity to do something again completely new, working also with the new generation. I am the past generation, so the new generation can bring me a lot, and I can bring also a lot to the new generation. So I said, aviation has a need. There is a new technology that exists. Yannick, you have to try something. Try. If you fail, you fail, but if at least try. Don't say, I should have tried because I thought that. No, try it.
Absolutely.
And do whatever you can to make it a success.
Absolutely.
So I embark with me all my network, because having succeeded in Airport IT, I have a lot of people who trust, because they say, okay, so what he did with Airport IT, he should be able to do that again. This is not for sure, but at least we try with the strength of these ones. And I have you guys as a new generation bringing the technology that goes. So I think this is a perfect match between two rivers to create something that doesn't exist today.
Absolutely. How would you explain Kepler Digital to a 10 years old child in very simple sentences?
Kepler Digitals, it's a new adventure who is going to make sure that you young kids in the aircraft, the aircraft are going to be safer because we can make sure that processes, that parts that are mounted on this, that the training that the people get around are actually not counterfeited. They are guaranteed.
Yeah.
This is one.
Okay.
Second, Kepler Digital is helping this new aviation that you are going to live and to be transported.
Yeah.
The air taxi, for instance.
Yeah.
So we are helping these new toys for you flying safely with Kepler Digital.
Okay.
So this is the way that I would explain that to new kids. And you kids will know what is digitalization much better than what I knew when I was a kid. So definitely it will speak to them.
Okay. How do you see Kepler evolve in 5 to 10 years from now? What is your biggest goal that you have in mind? Could be financial, could be technological, could be human.
Yeah, I think what I'd like is that we show that it works in reality with key contracts that will help showing this is not only on the paper, white paper.
Yeah.
Actually, we have very good hopes that we can sign one at the beginning of 2025. This is going well. So I hope to be able to announce that in the next month or next weeks. So it will be for me the goal to put it in practice, to make it a reality.
Okay.
Yeah. We already signed some MVPs with 2 other companies that we want also to have this. So the goal for 2025 will be this one.
Okay.
Then on the long term, I want to pave the way for blockchain for aviation in general. So I don't pretend to be the only one. I don't want it to be the only one, honestly, just because the pie of aviation is so big that we need to have more people. Yeah. To be an inceptor, to be the first one, to be, let's say, the initiator of that would be my biggest pride. In 5 years from now, they say, okay, so who tried it for the first time? Kepler Digitals. It would be very the big pride.
Yeah. We know that the biggest aviation type of company has been exploring blockchain since 2016, 2017. What they were missing at that time and what Kepler technology is doing today that they were not able to do a few years from now.
But I think the use cases that they were trying to solve were actually replacing what they do. Yeah, it's very difficult for a CEO of Amadeus to say the cash cow of Amadeus producing today 5 billion euros per year.
Yeah.
Replacing by something completely new, blockchain, but at the end will do the same.
Yeah.
Very difficult decision to take.
Yeah.
Even if we know at some point it will have to be. Yeah.
Okay.
So therefore, it's a delayed decision. What Kepler is doing completely differently. We are looking at the cases which are not touched today by classical travel tech.
Yeah.
Very manual also. Things which are still very much unwritten, like a turnaround of an aircraft, for instance. So we are putting blockchain in these spaces where the classical travel tech are not. And we are going to show that it works in these leaks of IT today. When it works there, I suppose, I think that the big travel tech will embark with that technology to also replace one piece of what they do.
Yeah.
Because the travel tech will not stay the same. New modes of transportation will come. Example, eVTOLs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Travel tech today, they don't take care of eVTOLs at all. So we will need a new technology, and blockchain can be directly applied from scratch.
Okay. So Kepler is existing from almost 1 year from now. It was in April 2024.
Yeah.
You have been constructing, building a high-end or world-class team.
Yeah.
Maybe we can elaborate on. But also you have been signing some partnerships and you are currently producing some MVPs from different fields of the aviation industry. Could you elaborate on this?
Yeah. In the white paper of Kepler Digital, I'm describing all the use cases. And we started to apply 2 of these use cases. One is about training, making sure that we can certify the diplomas. Around an aircraft, you have a lot of people having to touch the aircraft, and they need to be trained, example, to push back a 747. They need to have the right diploma, the right training to do that, and refreshers.
Yeah.
So we are building that for a company in MB Aviation to make sure that we can apply this to the trainees of this company.
Yeah.
This is one MVP. The other one is around drones. Why drones? Because the eVTOLs that we are talking about, so the electric vertical takeoff or landing aircraft which are coming, they are not yet flying. They are going to fly late 2025, early 2026. So we need to train ourselves on something smaller, which is like a small eVTOL that we call a drone. These drones, we are tokenizing the missions. That's in the eVTOL life will be called a turnaround. So the process around an aircraft on the ground. So these are the two MVPs that we are doing.
All right.
And we try to get more. That's why the team, we can talk about the team, by the way.
Yeah. And why does it make sense to apply blockchain technology in order to guarantee the traceability of the diploma and the certification of the staff over an airport or around the aircraft? Because today we have counterfeited the diplomas or lack of transparency?
Both. Yeah. Unfortunately, today in France, you find wrong doctors, wrong lawyers, wrong engineers. It's so easy to produce a diploma from Photoshop, for instance. And pretend that this is the right one. So therefore, the fact that you have more and more counterfeiting makes that the fact that you need to have weapons anti-counterfeiting. And with blockchain, you can do that. The initiator of the diploma can just make the first PNFT certificate, so the digital certificate. And then from that, you can trace what this diploma is becoming when you need to make refreshers. So unfortunately, the world today is made of counterfeiting a lot. You find it everywhere. In Galileo, you find it for luxury good, but in everything in aviation, there is a temptation. When you look for a job, you can pretend to have a diploma and you don't have the diploma. So there is this issue. Concerning the drones, the missions, and the recent 2 or 4 days shows that unfortunately you can have accidents. And when you have accidents, you need to trace what happens to these guys. So this is tokenizing a mission. So basically you can refer to the actual data, what happened. Then after you can fix what happened wrong and then make it better for next time for the accident not to reoccur.
I have been seeing that Kepler Digital has been hiring a lot of staff, and especially a lot of your friends, ex-professional relationships, some people coming from Amadeus or from different parts of the aviation industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about who is composing the team days of Kepler Digital?
So the team of Kepler Digital is composed of old generation like mine and young generation, like your team, Pierre, so with the Galileo team. So taking care of my generation. So I'm trying to embark into Kepler Digital the people who are representing the use cases. So they can develop the use cases. So example, Fred Meyer is a specialist of ground handling, and we are talking about tokenizing the turnaround around the aircraft and the diplomas around the aircraft. So he's absolutely representing that, so can help finding the first customers and making that happen. If I take the case of Brede Nielsen from Norway, Brede Nielsen has been the CIO of 43 airports. So when we need to take care of tokenizing the airport processes, is going to help me getting into that field with all this network. And we have John Jarrell, who was one of the big guys of several travel tech, and is more generalist on IT. He can help in negotiating the next big contracts that I was talking about before.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the team. I can describe all of them, but they are all super important to know. But I have the teams of what they call the polytechnicians. I have 2 polytechnicians working with me.
Yeah.
One is the CPO, Chief Product Officer, who has been also CPO for Airport IT. So I know him very well. So he's able to make the roadmap of product development.
Yeah.
And knowing what has to be, how the priorities should be done. We have another colleagues of Polytechnic named that is coming from Verneude. So this is François Chiron. François Chiron has the technicality to help us finding the right research and development, and to make sure that we have a strong foot in various countries, but especially in France or in Europe, to make sure that we develop correctly.
Okay.
And recently we had a new joiner coming from Airbus.
Yeah.
So to apply the use case of the aircraft parts. So how to make sure that the supply chain is secured with blockchain.
Yeah.
I could name all of them. They will forgive me that I don't name all of, but actually we these are the examples.
Yeah. Okay. And what are the feedbacks from your ex-colleagues from Amadeus towards Kepler Digital?
They are super positive. They are investors. So it shows that they trust. 12 of them are investors.
Okay.
So this is something that I perceive they like.
Yeah.
So it's not taken as a competition to Amadeus. It complements Amadeus. So they are behind us, and they can help us even at some point with Amadeus or not. But let's see.
How do you balance the pressure of running a company with your personal life?
A good question. Actually, I learned over the past 30 years how to balance that. For me, the fact to run Kepler Digital is not really a pressure. It's a pleasure. It's more a pleasure than a pressure. Yeah, because it's since it's all about passion. So running that, it's not a burden on my shoulders. It's just a fact to be happy in life, and this is part of my happiness. For me, Kepler Digital is entertaining my curiosity, the fact that you have to solve issues. So I don't feel it as a pressure.
Okay.
Yeah? So that's why it's difficult for me to say, okay, I have a lot of pressure on my shoulder. I do have, because I want to satisfy the investors.
Yeah.
And the customers. But the pressure for the time being is not what I would call a burden.
Okay.
Yeah? It's you have positive pressure and you have negative pressure. This is a positive pressure. Pressure. Forcing me to be always in the mood, always trying to get things done.
Yeah.
So this is my balance today.
And what was the most interesting part or intriguing part when you have been integrating this Web3 ecosystem, which is between us very particular to some extent?
Yeah, so it was, I discovered it's a brand new world for me. So I had to learn all the codes, things that in current life you call differently. All of a sudden, I don't know, euro currency is becoming a fiat money.
Yeah.
So what is a fiat money? You start to learn what it is. So so this type of thing is you need to learn all the acronyms. Bull market, bear market, FOMO, ETH, all this type of thing. This is a new vocabulary that I learned.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting to know how to navigate into that. So even Telegram group. So to be conversing with people with an avatar versus having a normal conversation. How can I trust or not?
Yeah.
So I have to learn how to do that.
Yeah. And what is your feeling about all these people, so individuals, but now also companies and governments speculating more and more on the crypto market?
I think this is the future. I think they will go. So it will be a conversion between the classical world and the crypto world or blockchain world, adopting each other's code. So I think that the blockchain will also move to something considered as
More official?
more serious.
Yeah.
Example, when you deal with negotiating with somebody, you are not going to be called Monkey 2000. You are going to be called Yannick Beunardeau talking to James Hunt. I don't know, just as an example.
Okay.
It will come that way, I think. But what I love is learning something new and to have the impression that it's a convergence of generation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The old generation can bring so much good things about the experience, how to manage a business.
Yeah.
And the young generation is teaching me all the codes of this type of technology, and I love it.
Okay. You decided to launch also the Avia token on the Avalanche blockchain. Why did you decide to go this route to do an ICO? And what will be the use cases of this token within the ecosystem that you are building?
So yes, we decided to launch on Avalanche because in aviation you need to have certain number of certain criteria, as example of TPS, transaction per second. And studying the different blockchain, we thought that it was the best one at this stage. We want to be also multi-chain, also as soon as possible, to be able to export that when the new blockchain will come up, and therefore we can transfer that technology. So this is our starting blockchain, but maybe in the future we'll have some others or multiple cases. And we launch a utility token, yes, you're right, Avia, that we can use into the use cases.
Yeah.
Example, there is the most spectacular use cases that I would like to implement. This is a loyalty systems in aviation based on Avias.
Yeah.
So we decided to have a fixed supply of 100 million Avias that we create, and we use this Avia into our use cases. Example, as I said, loyalty program, so mileage transformed into Avias.
Yeah.
You can have also, don't know, in the learning schools, you could be rewarded Avia if you have good marks, for instance. It could be another one. In the spare parts supply chain, you can have also the let's say the good knowledge of sources, the virtuous spare parts being more Avias rewarded than the one which we can have a doubt.
Yeah.
So you can use Avias in a lot of use cases. Of course, the classical one about the rights of votes into where we go in the product plan. So Avias is going to be the utility used by Kepler Digitals and hopefully by others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we are concluding this interview. Do you have any final remarks or observations that you forget to talk about and you would like to highlight during this podcast episode?
Well, I think the conclusion is what is let's try to use this broad experience of myself, but also all the people that are coming with me, and converge that with the blockchain experience that you have as Galileo and also as Pierre Beunardeau, and make sure that 1 + 1 = 3. So we channelize this and we do something that will change the face of aviation.
Okay.
This is maybe a big ambition, but at least if in 10 years from now I can look back and say, okay, look, it was useful to do that, I would be super happy.
Super. Yannick, it was so much a pleasure to interview you. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you.